Reach Out Your Hand by MC Coy. Chapter 6. Change in Plans, Part 2. You did good, kid. Fuck, Hitoshi cursed as he saw Denki run. He wasted no time pushing Monoma off, but the other blonde quickly swept him back into his arms and did another turn. Monoma, let go of me. No can do, the blonde teased. I mean, you're the one that asked me to dance, and in such a romantic way. That invitation wasn't for you, and you know it, he growled out, trying to break away again, but the blonde was fast and got in front of him again. You can't possibly mean that, the blonde laughed. I didn't see anyone. Monoma, Hitoshi hissed at the other, once again pushing the blonde away. Monoma rolled his eyes. Okay, I saw the little servant, but you can't possibly tell me you want to dance with that fragile thing. He barely looked like he could walk without tripping over himself. How dare you say such a foul thing about him in my presence? Hitoshi all but yelled at him. I'm only speaking the truth, Monoma stated, sounding like all the rich snobs that think they know best because they can throw money at their problems. He looked dirty, skittish, lacking any grace, and not even a looker. You deserve better than that, Hitoshi. I'm just trying to show you. Hitoshi finally had enough, using all of his strength to push Monoma away from him and making the blonde stumble back, falling onto the floor. Hitoshi! Monoma yelled in horror, looking around the room at the crowd of people that had just watched the prince push him away. How dare I? Hitoshi yelled, not caring about the crowd or how mad he looked. How dare you, stealing someone else's dance and then saying nothing but terrible things about them? I'll have you know that Denki is kind, passionate, loyal, and literally like a drop of sun that fell to the earth and became human. He never complains about the work and is always willing to help out a friend in need. He is nice to my sister and will forever be better than you. Hitoshi, Monoma stuttered out, cowering at the intense glare the other was giving him. No, you don't get to call me that right now. I'm tired of your games, tired of how you threw our friendship away because you only have eyes for the crown. I miss you, Monoma. I miss my friend. Hitoshi let his voice drop at the end, his emotions getting the better of him, but quickly took a calming breath in to try and regain it. You are and always will be my friend, Monoma, Hitoshi continued, but Denki is who I plan to marry. I was going to dance with him and make my intentions clear, but you got in the way like you always do. What? Hitoshi, you can't be I am very serious. Hitoshi once again cut the other off with a glare, looking over to see Momo slip through the kitchen door. And if you still want to be friends after this, then you better stay out of my way. With that, Hitoshi sprinted to the orchestra, looking at the still standing Jiro with determination in his eyes. You think you can keep up? Stupid question, she replied. Of course I can. Then come on, I got a dance partner to catch. Jiro nodded before leaping off the stage, running after Hitoshi's long strides as he ran straight for the kitchen. Hitoshi heard his papa trying to talk to the confused crowd about Hitoshi choosing a partner and being no longer single so they can go home if they like, or wait for the chef to bring out the pudding. He didn't really care what the rest of the party guests thought or were murmuring about, all of them probably in shock that the emotionless prince showed, well, a lot of emotion. He can apologise and make up for his rudeness later. Right now he just needed to find Denki before he decided to disappear forever. Bursting through the kitchen doors, he found Sero and Momo talking to a still confused Sato about the situation. Where did he go? He shouted at them, not wanting to waste time. Everyone instantly pointed to the back door, Hitoshi wasting no time running through it and down the hallway, Jiro hot on his heels. He thought he heard some other footsteps following him, but ignored it as he looked around for any sign of the blonde servant. He was wearing a completely white outfit for Pete's sake. He shouldn't be this hard to find. Hitoshi turned the corner, almost running face first into someone who was leaning against the wall. Hey, get out of my way! Slow your roll, eyebags. Bakugo? Hitoshi asked, finally taking a second to look the person over. What are you doing here? Bakugo just rolled his eyes. What does it look like I'm doing? I'm on Denki watch. Denki watch? Hitoshi mumbled. Sorry, your highness, Momo yelled out, finally catching up to him and having to take a couple breaths before answering again. As Denki's friends, we know he is a flight risk, so I asked for people around the castle to keep an eye on him if he did decide to run tonight. How thoughtful, Hitoshi said slowly, not sure if he should be thankful or offended that his friends thought his plan would fail. Bakugo must have picked up on his bitterness, shoving him in the opposite direction. Yeah, complain later, just go and get dunce face. Thanks, Bakugo, Hitoshi said, decided to settle on being grateful for now, going in the direction he was pushed in. Whatever, just go until you find Ejiro, he's still tailing him, Bakugo shouted after the group, watching Jiro, then Sero, and then Momo following after the prince. You know what, fuck it, he mumbled to himself before following the group. Hitoshi ran faster than he thought he ever had, wondering why they built the castle with such long corridors. He looked everywhere he could as he sprinted by, looking for any sign of Denki or the dragon hybrid as they went. They were just at the edge of the corridor where they should choose to either go left towards the library or through the door to the courtyard outside. Hitoshi was about to turn, knowing the doors were locked at this hour, but stopped when a figure jumped down from the archway above. Hitoshi had to slam on the brakes in order not to crash into the person, Jiro and Sero having run into him when they weren't able to stop in time and sending him pitching forward. Luckily, a large clawed hand caught him before he hit the floor. Careful there, your highness. Kirishima, Hitoshi gasped, sucking down air now that he had come to a stop. Where is Denki? He went that way, Kirishima said as he pointed at the double doors that led outside. But that's impossible, Hitoshi protested, even as he jogged over to them. They're supposed to be locked. And they are. Were, Kirishima corrected. Denki's family has been here a long time, so he knows all the tricks to get around the castle without alerting the guards. Apparently you just need to pull on the door a certain way while hitting one of the hinges and it will come wide open. This is such a safety hazard, shitty hair, Bakugo yelled from the back of the group and only got a shrug in return. I just learned about it, bro. Don't call me bro. As the couple continued to argue, Hitoshi slowly opened the door to peek out, noting the expensive garden, the cobblestone pathway, the fountain in the middle, and most importantly, Denki sitting hunched over on the bench in front of it. Jiro, Hitoshi spoke up, making the rest of the group fall silent as they waited for his orders. I'm going to go out there. Please stay well behind me and out of sight if possible. I'll signal you again when it's time to play. Understood, the violinist nodded, holding her instrument to his chest as she got ready to move. As for the rest of you, Hitoshi said as he looked at the little entourage he had collected, why are you here? For moral support, Sero cheered and got several nods in agreement. For you and Denki, Momo clarified. Okay, just stay here and stay quiet, Hitoshi finally said, deciding he didn't have time to argue with them. Obviously, Bakugo muttered from the back and got an eye roll from Hitoshi in return. He turned back to the door, taking a deep breath before slipping through it silently. He wasn't really sure what he was going to say, having a speech planned out when the blonde was secure in his arms and unable to leave while they danced. He hoped that he could show the blonde that he meant the world to him and ask him if he would stay by his side as his partner, but obviously that plan went out the window. He felt his hands begin to sweat as he got closer, knowing that this was his one chance to fix everything and not wanting to mess it up a fourth time. Though the plan also went out the window the moment he heard a soft sniff coming from the blonde's hunched over form, his heart breaking at the sound and instantly moving him the last few feet so he was standing beside the blonde. On instinct, he wanted to hug Denki and comfort him to the best of his abilities, but he also didn't want to spook the very distraught blonde, so he just cleared his throat and reached his hand up towards him. He watched as Denki froze in shock, not having heard him walk up, before looking over at his shoes before his eyes slowly travelled up to his face, his eyes looking like pools of gold with a layer of unshed tears on top of them. Hitoshi absently thought that King Midas might have been on to something as he slowly found himself becoming obsessed with the colour. Your Highness, Denki sputtered once he got over his initial shock, standing up and taking a couple of steps back. What are you doing? I reached out my hand. Hitoshi cut him off, taking a step towards him, but stopping when he saw Denki was taking another one back. He didn't want to go too fast and scare Blonde into running again, so he stayed put with his hand still outstretched towards him. I reached out my hand, he said again softly, repeating the words Denki had said to him the first time they met. Yet I am still waiting for them to accept. Denki looked at his hand and then at his face before turning away again with a sniff. I saw him take your hand. You both looked lovely together. Hitoshi felt his anger boiling back to the surface at remembering Monama's little stunt, his friend ruining the moment, and any confidence Denki might have had at the moment. You should know deep down that my invitation wasn't meant for him. Should I? Denki countered, rubbing his eyes so he could stare at the prince clearly. I don't see how the invitation could have been for me. I'm a servant, a washer, not even a knight or anyone of value, your highness. Hitoshi let out a huff in frustration. Do you think that matters? My papa was a bard that played in local pubs before he met my father. The joyful king showed promise, Denki explained as his mother had explained to him. He grew into being a wonderful king, and your father saw that potential in him. So what if I saw that potential in you? Hitoshi asked, trying not to let his frustration show in his voice. I would say you were lying, my prince. How would I be lying? Because I know my place and my limits, Denki shouted at him. I failed at every other job in the castle. I daydream more than I work. I'm clumsy and cause more messes than I can clean up, and I'm just not good enough. Tears started to flow down his face as he thought of just how much of a failure he was. He had nothing special to give, no special talents to offer, and not even a name worth having. He was Denki Kaminari, the last of a line of royal servants that will be loyal to the crown until death. He will never be anything more. I'm sorry, Stop calling me that, Hitoshi finally snapped, making Denki flinch at the volume. Don't call me that either, Hitoshi snarled. I hate when you call me Prince or Your Highness. My name is Hitoshi. Please use it. I can't, Denki mumbled. Can't or won't? Hitoshi challenged. Also, why don't you go ahead and stop talking badly about yourself? I will not have my future husband and ruler say such slander about themselves. Husband? Denki asked in disbelief, confused as to how that came up. Hitoshi at least had the decency to blush, looking down at his feet for a moment before looking back at him with determination. Yes, I planned on asking you to be my intended tonight. Why would you? Because I like you, Denki, Hitoshi yelled, lifting his still outstretched hand towards him again. I like how kind you are, how excited you get over the little things, how cute you look when you get embarrassed at your messes, and how expressive you are when you speak. Hitoshi took a step towards Denki, but stopped again when the blonde took another small step back. Denki, he whispered desperately. I also love how you dance, Hitoshi tried again, hoping the more he talked, the more Denki would see he was telling the truth. I love how you make me dance, how I feel when I have you in my arms, smiling without a care in the world. It's like I'm the moon watching the sun pass by and having to squint because you're so radiant, but it will always be the best part of my day. I love how you fit in my arms, how you giggle in excitement when I throw you into the air, or how your eyes light up in mischief as you throw in a new move in the hopes of surprising me. I love how passionate you are about dance, about everything. Your loyalty to your friends, your willingness to help, your dedication to my family, all of those qualities are wonderful things, Denki. Everything about you is wonderful. So please, just accept my hand. Hitoshi took several deep breaths, his speech leaving him winded. He looked over at Denki and found the other biting his lip in thought, looking like he was still thinking about running at any moment. Hitoshi felt defeated, not knowing what else to say to change the servant's mind. He let out a grunt in frustration, taking a low bow and holding his hand out straighter towards him, not moving from the position as he waited for Denki to decide. Please, Denki, he whispered, unable to look up from his spot in fear of having to watch the blonde run away again. He didn't think his heart could take that kind of abuse any more. He just stayed as still as a statue, counting down the seconds until he heard the pitter-patter of Denki's shoes leaving the courtyard. He let out a gasp as he heard the sound of footsteps, his worst fear seeming to come true, but then he felt a soft, hesitant touch on his hand, making his head snap up in surprise. Denki had walked closer to him, his hand seeming to hover over his own, only allowing for a brief moment for them to touch. His eyes were still cast down, but Hitoshi could see his cheeks dusted in pink from the moonlight above them. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with the idea of being your husband or intended just yet. I would like to get to know you better before that, and more comfortable with the idea of, well, everything. But Hitoshi drawled, standing up straight as he willed Denki to look at him and say the words he had been hoping to hear all night. But, Denki repeated, slowly looking up at him with a small smile on his face, his hand grasping onto his fully now. For tonight, I accept your invitation to dance, Hitoshi. Hitoshi let out a breathy chuckle, his body instantly bringing the blonde closer to the starting position, whispering in the other ear with a smile visible on his face. You have no idea how happy I am to hear you say that. How about you show me? Denki asked shyly, stepping just that much closer to him. Music started to play from behind them. Not even needing to look to know Jiro had popped out of her hiding place and was now playing their song, his heart sinking with the medley and setting them in motion like an invisible switch was flipped. Hitoshi couldn't keep the smile off his face even if he tried, setting the pace for them before instantly lifting Denki off the ground and spinning him in the air. The blonde let out a shriek of delight at the sudden change of choreography, but quickly recovered with a giggle as he was set back on the ground. The blonde then took the lead, pushing Hitoshi to follow as they danced around the fountain, turning this way and that in quick half steps. Hitoshi gained back control as he beckoned Denki to twirl, the blonde doing so immediately and then falling back perfectly into his arms. They both laughed in barely contained excitement as the song reached its crescendo and they picked up the pace again, spinning each other to see who could do it the fastest without getting dizzy. Hitoshi was always ready to catch Denki after a couple of very close calls, but they still never missed a beat, their feet compensating for the other without even thinking about it, their hands holding each other with just the right amount of strength, and their eyes openly communicating with each other about what the next move is going to be. Denki looked breathtaking as they danced. Shinso couldn't help but think, while also mourning the end of the song as he heard it approaching. He didn't want this moment to end, not yet anyway. I need to make this an ending he won't ever forget, he thought to himself, breaking eye contact with the blonde for the first time to look down at his pale pink lips. Denki clearly caught him looking, blushing harder but not moving away. If anything, he somehow got closer to him as they still danced away. His eyes continued to sparkle with positive emotions and excitement, but now eagerness and reassurance as well. Hitoshi didn't need more confirmation than that, smiling down at the blonde before turning them to get ready for the grand finale. He spun Denki around a few more times, grabbing his hips after the last one to bring him close before adjusting his hold to support under his shoulders and lower back. Denki instantly grabbed around his neck for further support, nothing but trust in his eyes as he bent his knees and allowed Hitoshi to take his weight as he was slowly lowered into a dip. Hitoshi didn't take his eyes off him until the very last note rang out, quickly closing his eyes and kissing him right as the song ended. His lips were as soft as they looked, moving his head slightly so they slotted together better, and Denki followed suit, letting go of his neck with one hand to cup his face with the other, tangled into the hair at the base of his head. It was as if they never stopped dancing, their bodies just knowing how to move, where to hold, and just how to make their kiss just as magical. Even though the song was over, Hitoshi still heard the music playing in his head, his heart matching its tempo perfectly, and he knew that if he placed his hand on top of Denki's, it would be the same. Cheering from behind them brought them out of their private little moment. Hitoshi quickly lifted Denki back on his feet to look over his shoulder and found all his friends clapping and whistling at the display. Jiro was holding a violin, not looking at them out of respect, while Momo clapped silently beside her with tears in her eyes. Kirishima and Sero were yelling the loudest, rooting for both of their friends, while Bakugo just stood silently by his boyfriend, rolling his eyes at their antics. "Oh no," Denki groaned, blushing so hard at their little audience and quickly hiding his face in Hitoshi's neck. "Make them go away." "You don't think I already tried?" Hitoshi said with a laugh, a little too love-drunk to be mad at his friends right now. Denki just groaned again, burying himself further into his hold. "Hitoshi!" Hitoshi laughed again, his heart fluttering at the sound of his name coming from the blonde's lips. He couldn't help it as he kissed the top of the other's head, unable to control himself when he was acting so cute. "You need to get used to it. We're going to have to dance in front of the entire kingdom when we get married after all." Denki let out a squeak in fear before looking up at Hitoshi with a glare. His face was as red as Kirishima's hair. "Hitoshi!" The prince just laughed, knowing that was a long time away but unable to stop himself from teasing the blonde. He quickly wrapped him up in a hug, rocking them from side to side in a form of apology. Denki instantly hugged him back, swaying his body in time with him and starting a new dance. Jiro started playing again while Kirishima ran to the middle of the courtyard with a screaming Bakugo behind him, deciding he wanted to dance as well. Sero grabbed the violin out of Jiro's hands, reassuring the girl he would take good care of it as he pushed her towards Momo and began to play in her place. The two girls blushed profusely, but they still took each other by the hand and started to sway to the song. Up above the group on a balcony, the joyful king began to sway to the music as well, his chest filled with warmth as he watched his son fall in love. Two arms slowly wrapped around his middle and began to sway with him, Hisashi not hesitating to lean into the hold. "That boy did well," he said with a sigh, and got a hum in return. "It still ended up a mess, and Denki is going to need a lot of guidance to help him adjust to life as more than a washer." Hisashi swatted at his husband, not in the mood for his logic right now. "Oh hush, can't we just enjoy the moment?" "I guess," Shota said, bobbing his head from side to side in thought. "Or we can go steal all the leftover pudding Sato made, and then go bug Eri about her crush." Hisashi gasped. "Our baby has a crush!" Shota only nodded his head, letting his husband grab his hand and drag him back towards the ballroom. "Have I ever told you how much I love you and your beautiful mind before?" "Multiple times. I'm pretty sure they were in your wedding vows." "Oh yeah. Well, never mind that. We got pudding to eat and a preteen to bug." Shota felt a smile pull at his face, once again feeling grateful for the family he was able to create with Hisashi, and excited how it will change with the addition of another loud blonde. He was thankful Hitoshi was finally able to find someone that made his feet dance like Hisashi made his heart sing. He looked over his shoulder one more time, smiling as he saw his son lost in his own little world with Denki still wrapped up in his arms. "You did good, kid. You did good." Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you next time.